So here's a fun one. I was watching what's it called? Oh yeah, a generic history video with a very prepossessing young chap talking about Rome, and he says, he poses the question: how did a people accustomed to democracy come to accept despotism? About Rome, well, because they were a republic, which means for the people, not of the people. The Romans believed they were descendants of the survivors of Troy. Well, to be accurate, a few Romans believed they were descended of a hero lord of Troy whose mum was a god, not some mule skinner. The rest believed, the few hoped, that this was true of the few. That's Roman society. These descendants, these families, believed that their, quote, noble blood had given them greater insight and wisdom than anyone outside their tribe, and they maintained this power by interbreeding with each other, end quote. Sound familiar? Says a generic history video. Not a novel idea, Hallo Egypt, but it is significant that we assume, we of the modern West, that we are in a direct line from Athens to Rome to Washington in our governance, and that it is good, the best system. The democracy of Rome, a term they seldom if ever used, being honest, brutal people, was not their pride and joy. The desire to emulate and surpass demigod ancestors does seem to be their national obsession, or the aristocrats' national obsession, who did run the country. Their cultural super objective. And this is super interesting if one is not infected by it. What does it mean? And who is driven by it? Is it a natural instinct or a perversion, this belief in second comings and one's relationship to them, to destinies and promised kingdoms and lands? It seems at the heart of many cultures. I guess I am challenging its myths and validities. I don't know that I need to, but I am anyway, because I got a funny feeling. When Charlie Hebdo was shot up and people were murdered, or the Danish cartoons of Muhammad were out there, I thought they were just cartoons. Is the offense so great? Now we've had a perceived mockery of a painting of the Last Supper, and it seems it doesn't matter the religion. Much offense is taken at these kinds of mockery. Christopher Hitchens called it freedom of speech. It's tough for me to understand, as I haven't a mockable entity in my consciousness. At least I don't think so. So far, the Paris offense has not caused any violence, and Christians are pointing this out as evidence of some superiority. So far, so good. But isn't the problem the offense in the first place, and that it is taken? And there is a lot of historical evidence of Christian reprisal against heresy, which is a sort of mockery. Friends claim that that was then, and this is now. I hope so. But why? What's changed since Bosnia? For the moment, the conclusion I suggest and hope is wrong, is that all these faiths have murderous allowances in them, not in their rules, thou shalt not after all kill, but in their messianic judgments of what is good and evil. I have read not a few comments about Satan prowling among us, evil on the march, Netanyahu. Terrible things are being done, committed, have been for a long, long time. I seriously don't think that a drag queen Jesus rates. Anyway, so far, so good, and I promise to keep looking for the offense that would take me to that place. Suggestions are welcome. I hoped it had gone, but even now, on direct evidence, I think not so. Rome's greatness would have been articulated by its prouder sons as military. The straight roads, the aqueducts, the shield walls, the eagles, and the architecture are monuments to war. I cannot name a historian that has said or would say that Rome was the result of psychosis, a successful Third Reich, A low in human history to which we have manacled ourselves because its modeling serves our own psychoses, our manic masculinity, our paranoid and jealous religions, so cowardly they can countenance no dissent, a lesson in horror, a paean to supremacism as identity, glorifying genocide, to finally say we can do much, much better. Old power moans on about identity politics so stupidly it cannot recognize that the one identity we have been enthralled to, theirs, is abominable, whose greatest expression is the very Roman pathology of Gaza, about which the most pious oaths are mumbled, and even I, who have seen much and lived long, was surprised at a little chap calling those not he evil to standing ovations of people as sick as he called government. Life ain't that hard, Charlie. This is not greatness. This is Nero made hero. There is no great state, only colosseums. Or the greater the state, the smaller its citizen, its sheep, its frenzied idiots following the medal count at the Olympics, a ritual created for precisely not that. I think I have heard there is a stage in babyhood when the child thinks everything is an extension of him or her. Then they grow a little and realize that everything around them has its own being and agency. Empires are actually retarded children, havens for egoists, where no realized self can survive. Eventually, a people's assembly was created in Rome, a smart move with real power, veto power, to represent the interests of people who could not define themselves as God-descended. Ancestry.com would be wasted on them. And then the empire struck back and clings to power still.